wanting to experience more, and knowing that we're not meant to do this alone.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Chronicles of the High-Powered Female CEO. This is episode 20, and I'm so excited to bring you today Diane Forster. Hi.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to have you. Tell us how people typically know you, Diane.
Well, people know me as a TV host and an intentional living expert. And I run a company called I Have Today, which is a transformational coaching, education, and media company. And who we serve are women, typically over 40, who are looking to reinvent their lives personally and professionally. And so we do that in several ways through online courses, private coaching, group coaching, and a variety of things. So yeah, so that is who I am and what I'm known for.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to the heart of things. I would love if you would share with us a bit of your story.
Sure, I'm happy to. Well, I spent 32 years working in corporate America. I started out working in the advertising industry in LA, and I did that for 8 years before moving to Chicago to get married. And I switched over to television sales, and I worked in that industry for another 24 years. And I spent 20 of those years at Disney ABC. And so that was my corporate background. And while I was working at ABC, came up with this idea for a kitchen product out of the clear blue. It was a frustration in the kitchen one day, and I was decorating deviled eggs, and I went to sprinkle the paprika on them, that last finishing touch, and too much spice poured out of the container, and it ruined my dish in 1 second. And I could see this product in my mind. It's called the Spifter. But if there was just a sifting spoon with a long handle and a little sifting bowl and a tapping edge where I could just tap the spice where I want, wouldn't that be so cool? And I was one of those women that I love to cook and bake and entertain at the time. And I had every gadget under the sun. And my sisters call me Diane because I'm very persnickety, like everything in my house and life was so perfect. And so of course I thought of a product like this. And so I couldn't find it. So a voice whispered in my ear, Diane, you need to create this. And so I went down the path of inventing, and I didn't know what I was doing at all, Melissa. I was literally putting one foot in front of the other. And it led to a TV appearance on ABC when I had a prototype, which led to hundreds of requests for it for a product I didn't have. And that led to winning an innovation award at the International Houseware Show, which led to a QVC appearance where we sold out in 6 minutes. And I had all this crazy success with this spoon, this sifting spoon. And it got me thinking, wow, if I could create something from nothing like this, what else could I do? So here I am working in corporate. Now I have this experience in entrepreneurship and inventing. And the creation of what I'm doing today was my personal journey. And I was in a marriage and a relationship with a man for 24 years. We were married for 20 years. That just was not good. And it fell apart early in the relationship. And I stayed and I struggled in it for 2 decades, over 2 decades. And I didn't tell anyone how unhappy I was because the packaging of my life looked so good. You know, we had the home and the cars and the kids and the dogs and the travel and, all the things. And so I didn't know how to manage that or what to do with it. So anyway, long story short, and I don't want to gloss over it and make light of it, but I think it's important to get to the point where I was really unhappy and waking up every day unfulfilled and unenthusiastic about the day that was in front of me. And it started showing up everywhere in my life. I got sick. I got diverticulitis, and I was in and out of the, hospital. I had to eventually get part of my colon removed, and my mother died of colon cancer at the age of 53.
Wow.
I was literally heading down this path. And I had a massive wake-up call because of a suicide attempt in June of 2011. And as it, wasn't premeditated, it was just a moment where I couldn't go on. And so as I stood in the bathroom with those 2 bottles of prescription pain medication in my hand, tears streaming down my face, praying to God, I just can't take this pain and loneliness anymore. A force karate chopped my arm, knocked the pills to the floor, and screamed in my ear. And I know it was my mother, and said, "You are not ending your life this way, Diane. You need to go get help so you can tell your story and help others." It still gives me goosebumps and closes my throat. And I threw my hands in the air and I said, "Well, you need to show me the way because I don't know how." And so I cleaned up that mess, dried my tears, went out and kissed my kids goodnight. And the next day I reached out for help and said, I need help. I am changing my life. And that set me down the path of my transformation and my awakening and falling in love with myself and my personal, development journey and all the awakening things that started to happen for me. And so some other things changed in my life. It took another 6 months or so to get out of that marriage. And I just boldly declared, I want an extraordinary life and I'm going to do everything I can to get it. And so fast forward a couple of years later, my twins, let me back up a second. So with the awakening, what happened was and once you start inventing, you can't turn it off. And I was starting to write and invent and channel like crazy. I was writing a lot. And I woke up one night or morning with a poem in my head called I Have Today. And I wrote it down as quickly as I could. And when I finished writing that, I looked down in it and I said, this is way more than a poem. This is a movement. This is what Spirit was talking about that night in the bathroom in June of 2011. I'm supposed to help other women who don't know their self-worth discover their true divinity, power, and purpose. Because if this was happened to me and for me, how many other women out there, millions of women, are living in the same ho-hum hell that I was living in? And so just like I could see the Swifter in my mind, I saw the brand of I Have Today. I could see all the layers of it. I could see me coaching and speaking and writing books and, having my TV show. I could just see this production company. And so it freaked me out a little bit. I was like, this is a lot to take. But I just kept marinating in it and germinating in it. And, thank you so much, Yolani. I see you there. And 2 years later, after the poem, I made a bold decision to reinvent my life. My kids' last day of high school was I have twins, was my last day in corporate America. And I quit my job. I sold my house and everything in it. I got them off to college and I moved from Chicago to San Diego with the same mantra that had me create this Swifter, which was, let's just see where this goes. And the universe has guided me ever since. And so it's been about 6 years since I launched the company. I've written, a couple best-selling books, done, a lot of amazing things, launched my TV show a few years ago. And it's honestly been an extraordinary journey, and it has not been without its bumps and things along the way. But I can tell you, as I sit here, I wouldn't change a single moment of my life, not a single moment of my life, to be where I am today, which is still on this journey, still learning, still growing, still expanding every step of the way. So,
wow, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for coming back from that, for not ending your life and coming out and creating all that you've created, and how many people have benefited from you taking a different course that day. It's massive.
thank you. Thank you.
You said this line about my life looked so perfectly packaged, so nobody knew. And I really agree with you. I think so many women are living that reality. I don't know. Can you speak more to that? Like, what was that like today?
Well, we grow up, I've done a lot of research on this and, lots of shows on this and, so many things about, why that is. Why is that? Because we grow up with programming and beliefs that we inherit from other people. When we're born, we don't have any of that. We're this wide open, blank slate. But over time, those limiting beliefs and those impressions come in, and we're told, or society tells us, or our parents tell us, or friends tell us, peers tell us that we're supposed to have this certain path in life. And so we grow up with this, I call it when then syndrome. When I, then I. So when I do this thing that I really don't want to do because it's hard, or people told me I have to do it and I really don't like it and I have to struggle with it, well, then I'm going to get this reward, And then you wake up one day and you start to realize every time you hit a when then moment, there's this level of disappointment. And it didn't quite feel the way I thought it was going to be, because most of that is somebody else's dreams, goals, beliefs that you inherited. So it is imperative, and this is what I do with my clients, that we go deep, deep, deep within to, first of all, remove those limiting beliefs. And second of all, get to your truth. So why that is that so many people are living that way is because they think that's what's supposed to make them happy. And they wake up every day, and this isn't everyone, but this is millions of women wake up every day with no excitement or joy or passion, living a life that they want to live, because number one, they probably don't even know what that is. They don't even know what the definition of happiness is for them yet. They haven't figured it out because they're so programmed to believe, well, this is the stuff that was supposed to make me happy. I need all this money, or I need all these things, or instead of really exploring, well, what's true for me? What makes me happy? If I get to the end of this day or the end of this life, do I want to look back at it with regret or with celebration? So it's so much inner work, and it's so important to do it. And even me, who's entrenched in this every day, I am a student of this every day. I work on my mindset every single day. I study every single day. I can't tell you how many things I studied this weekend. Vishen Lakhiani's course. I was studying Mark Allen. I was doing Marie Diamond. I'm constantly absorbing more and more information because it's so fascinating how we do this. And we're seekers on this journey. We're creators and seekers. So if we're not expanding and learning and growing and creating, it's stagnation. We're either going this way or we're going this way. And so many people struggle with this so much.
Mm-hmm. And do you, I think that then there is the other half of us, right, who have had that awakening and who have recognized, oh, like, I don't want to just live my life complacent. Like, what, once you make that awareness, like, what does the struggle look like for you now? Like, how does this show up for you now? And what keeps you still thirsty enough to keep wanting to learn more and change your mindset?
What keeps me thirsty? That we live in an infinite universe, and I'm an infinite being, and therefore there's infinite knowledge and information, and that there's always, always, always more ways that I can improve. I can go deeper into levels of ease, flow, satisfaction, that the more I take in, and it's not from a need of, my tank is unfillable. It's not that. It's that we all, and I know this, so I have to remember this sometimes when I'm outside looking in, and then I got to go inside to look out, that I am a student of this, and that we all forget this stuff. There's 70,000 thoughts and impressions going through our mind every single day, our subconscious mind. It's a crowded space. And 95% of those are the same thoughts that we thought yesterday. And so I have to keep doing for myself, feeding it more, because it's through the repetition that we actually remember. And that's how we're able to make the changes in our life. So if you're asking me what I have to do, I do that for myself, but I do that for others. It makes me a much better coach, mother, sister, daughter, friend, TV host, writer, influencer. It just elevates me and expands me more and more and more. And it's definitely affected my life in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things that happen, and you probably can attest to this too, as you know, what we go through as we're going and growing through this and offering it. There's a lot of people that push it away. They're repelled by it. They don't want to see you grow and change. They like you the way you are. And then, or they feel bad about themselves, or they're just not as aware yet. I don't want to say it's ignorance. It's definitely not that, but not aware yet. And so a lot of things have changed in my life in terms of relationships and communities and who I share things with and the way I live every day. And so I spend an exorbitant amount, not too much in my eyes, but time alone in that reflection because it feeds my soul. And so people would outside looking in say, what's wrong with her? Just and meanwhile, I'm like, I'm never bored and I'm my own best company. So it's a curious way to live in a world when there's a lot of people who aren't awake, and that's not a bad thing, but living in a 3D reality, this is the way things are, practical world, and the people who are ascending to understand there's way more going on and on their way up to, higher levels and higher dimensions. There's that disparity. So
do you find this has been something new that I've observed over the last 6 months or so, because I talk now way more often with people who are in the personal development world than those who aren't. And I've observed that some people use mindset in a way to it's like another tool to build the fortress around themselves, so they don't really have to know themselves. They don't have to know what they're feeling, or they don't have to necessarily heal the bigger gaping wounds, because they can positive affirmation themselves out of it. You know what I mean? And then there are those who use this inner work and they go deeper and deeper, and they recognize that the pain is the gift, and I've seen this sort of disparity. Do you see that among your clients or people that you speak with?
I definitely see the struggle with the person and people, mostly women, because I mostly work with women who know it logically. Because I do a lot of work around language. I create mantra meditations for my clients. I have, public ones that help you get from that state, the one state, to a better, more empowering state. So we focus a lot on thoughts, create your feelings, create your communication, create your manifestations. So when you have the awareness, like, I'm too old, I can't do that, or when they start catching themselves, that's like step number one. And so what I see is that it's not just a practice that you do in the morning or you do in the evening, because they're struggling with that. Well, I did the meditations, I journaled, I wrote my positive affirmations, or I said them, and, things aren't changing in my life. That is the way you have to live 24/7. All day, every day, is have the awareness. And it's not like these things aren't going to happen to you, where as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, where you fall from grace. They are. It's not that bad things aren't going to happen to you. They are going to happen to you. What your power is in recognizing this, and how long you stay in that state, and how quickly you can turn it around. And so I see that I'm trying. Well, that right there in lies the problem. Haven't really connected deeper to your light, who you are as this infinite being. And I think for a lot of people that takes time because they're trying to take, a book and affirmations and do the work. And yes, you need to be doing the work, but it's a lot more about connecting with and recognizing how you want to feel, what that blissful feeling feels like. So and that happens with time. I'm not the same person I am today than I was 6 months ago or a year ago, certainly 10 years ago. That's been an evolution. So it's being able to communicate on a level with people and meet them where they are. And I do a lot of that with, it's basically, fifth grade level communication. I do a lot of work around speaking to somebody as if, I'm speaking to them in a 3D world. I'm giving them the tools and the resources to get them to a higher ascension, but I'm doing it in a very physical, practical, easy to understand way, logical way, because that's the way they're used to learning. Does that make sense?
I love that. Yeah. And I love what you're saying too about, it's not always just about what you're doing, but it's more about how you're being and can you bring it into who you're being. And maybe, I don't know, even if nothing else, it's more of a remembrance of who you actually are than it is about having to do all these things to become, because we already are 5D, right? We already are these elevated, we just forget. We get so lost and we forget. I love what you're sharing, Diane.
Yeah. Well, you know what? But we did also come here to have the human experience, right? This was a decision we made. And so embracing that part too, and having a 3D experience means you are going to have experiences. You're going to have the good and the bad, the beautiful and the ugly. Like you're going to have every bit of it, all the contrast and all the beauty of it. And the ability to recognize what's my part in this situation and owning it. This was a big thing for me, Melissa, in my transformation. I could have, of course, pointed the finger at my former husband and people in my life and things that have happened. But when the whole thing really started to explode in a good way and blow up in a good way was when I said, wait a minute, I did this. I did this. I'm responsible for the condition of my life. I allowed it. I didn't set healthy boundaries. I didn't go after my dreams. I was complacent. I took as Price Pritchett says in U Squared, something's always at risk. You're either risking your, reaching your goals and taking a quantum leap and doing all of that, or you're risking staying stuck and familiar where you are. And either way, we're always at risk. So I was the one who was not pursuing that because I was staying in the safe and the familiar. It was the devil I knew, right?
So I have just 2 more questions for you. I want to ask you more about, just because intuitively this is what keeps coming, is where your mom, who had already passed on, came and intervened in that crucial moment for you. And what was that like in terms of, were you already spiritually awake at that time? Did you know it was her then, or did it come hindsight? And what's your relationship like with her now?
Oh God, please don't make me cry because she's so in the room. It is so good, Melissa. It is so good. It was hindsight. The voice was loud and clear. She had been communicating. Now her mother, my grandmother, who died when I was 3 years old, she was a true, intuitive and gypsy, as they called her back in the day. She would read tea leaves and cards. And so there's some generational stuff here. And my mom was always into it too. And so I got an interest in, psychic readings and stuff at a young age. And what happened for me is I was manifesting my entire life and didn't really understand that that's what I was doing, but I would say something and I would get it literally. And so the good and the bad. So when the moment happened, so she was an influence and she showed up in other ways, powerful ways. And it came through mediums and psychics would tell me, do you remember this? And I immediately knew the story. I immediately knew what happened. I could write a whole book on these stories. But so I always knew, felt her presence. And then the first time, and then I started hearing her. First, I started hearing her, clear knowing it was her. And then I started seeing her. The first time I saw her, it blew me away. And so it's pretty awesome that I have this openness and awareness and clear channel to her at all times. Whenever I call on her, she's instantly there.
So now you don't rely on psychics and stuff. It's
no. Yeah.
I love that. I think I find in speaking to a lot of millionaire women that we all have this little like spiritual secret like back door that we don't let people know about. And it's like it's the make or break of whether or not we're adding empty zeros to our life or we're like actually experiencing a fulfilled life and feeling like we're doing our calling on the planet is having this spiritual connection. Like I see, but it's like, it's still not mainstream to just come out and say like, yes, I speak to in my case, my dead father. And so I love that you just are like, yes, this is who I am. Oh, and thank you to Mama.
And she's such a beautiful soul. No, one of my best friends in the world is she's a psychic medium. She does past life regressions and inner child work. And she is extremely powerful and extremely gifted. And she, it's so fun when we're together and she's like, oh, your mom's here. May I? And I always say, of course. And so she said she has truly the most beautiful energy in the world. And she said she's so powerful. And she is. She was a force of love in her short 53 years, and a woman who had a lot of knocks in life, a hard life in many, many ways. But she had unconditional love for everyone and everything, and the heart so big. Oh my, I feel it right here. Which is why she was basically too good for this, and so I feel so blessed that I have that. So lucky. Yeah.
Okay. The last question, and I ask this to every guest, is tell us about a time in your life when you felt the most fulfilled.
I think I'm going to go to, I feel that way right now. I'm in a place of ease and flow. It feels so good. Not everything in my life is the way I want it to be, but I'm really blissful right now. So I feel that. But the most fulfilled, loving moment was the birth of my twins. It really was. Just the accomplishment of that, being told that I would never be able to have children, and then going through what I went through to conceive them, and then going what I went through to carry them, and then going through what I went through to birth them, and then to have, these two beautiful beings, this beautiful boy, this beautiful girl, who literally were so perfect and so big. Like the fact that I did that and holding them in my arms together was truly the most fulfilling moment of my life. You know what? If I never do anything again in the rest of my life, I already feel like I have a fulfilled life. They're healthy, thriving, and wonderful. They're going to be 25 this year. It's hard to believe, but that was the thing for me that I wanted more than anything in the world. And it was beyond my expectations. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. It's very common that that's the answer. It has to do with having our children. And I just think there's something divine about that. So I just love that. Thanks again so much, Diane. Are there any last words that you feel impressed to share?
Our company is called I Have Today for a reason. It's all we have. I highly emphasize and put a focus on that as much as I can for people to really live intentionally. Live it intentionally. All you have is today. You're not promised tomorrow, and your past is behind you, and you get to wake up fresh and new every single day. Truly, we do. Brand new life every single day, but live it to the fullest. Don't, make those phone calls, do that research, tell the people that you love them, and make the most out of this day, because that will just build and build and build on each day. And it is truly, I believe, the path to a happy, fulfilled, successful life is unconditional love for yourself and of this moment right here and now.
I love that. And you got this TV show, which is awesome. And we'll make sure that we get the link shared. So you guys, her TV show is called I Have Today. So we'll make sure that you get a hold of the link to go and watch Diane's inspiring show and follow her. And plus, she's teaching people how to host their own TV shows. So if that's something you're ever interested in, go find Diane. Diane, thank you again so much for being here today.
Thank you, Melissa. It was a privilege.
Bye, everyone.